Hello and welcome back. This is a sixth grade math video where we're going to be focusing on converting decimals to fractions. Okay, here is our first example. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice converting 0.9 to a fraction, and then we're going to simplify it if we can. So I'm going to rewrite 0.9 right here. Now the fractions have numerators and denominators. So the trickiest part of this is coming up with the denominator. What denominator should our fraction have? And that is based on the place value. So since our decimal goes out to the tenths place, that means we're going to have a fraction that's got 10 as a denominator. So what denominator you use depends on the place value that your decimal goes out to. So what you can do is once you decide on the denominator, you can just take what decimal you have and put it on top as the numerator. So 0.9 would be the same as 9 over 10 or also 9 tenths. So when you say both of them out loud, they sound the same. If you say 0.9 as 9 tenths and then 9 over 10 as 9 tenths. Now, we would look and see if we could simplify this, which we can't because we can't divide 9 and 10 by the same number. I can divide 9 by 3, but I can't divide 10 by 3. I can divide 10 by 2 or 5, but I can't divide 9 by 2 or 5. Okay, here is our next one. We're going to take the decimal 0.5 and rewrite it as a simplified fraction. So let me rewrite 0.5 here. And then to decide the denominator, again, I need to look at the place value that the decimal goes out to. It goes out to the tenths place, so that means I'm going to put a 10 as my denominator of the fraction, and then I'm just going to simply place what the decimal is as the numerator. So this is 5 over 10. Now I need to check and see if I can simplify it. Since I can divide both 5 and 10 by 5, I'm going to go ahead and do that to simplify it. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So the final answer to this would be 1/2. So 0.5 is 5 over 10 as a fraction, but simplified, it would be 1/2. Okay, here's our next one. We're going to write 0.7 as a simplified fraction. So I'm going to do 0.7 here. And now I just need to decide what denominator this fraction will get. Since the 7 is in the tenths place, I'm going to use 10 as my denominator. And then I just have to go ahead and place the decimal up here as the numerator. So 0.7 is the same as 7 over 10. Now I just need to check and see if I can simplify it, which I cannot because I can't. The only thing I can divide 7 by is 7, and I can't divide 10 by 7. So that means this would be our final answer, 7 over 10. Okay, here's our next one. We're going to write 0.25 as a simplified fraction. So I'm going to start by rewriting 0.25 over here. Now I need to decide on the denominator of the fraction. And again, that's based on place value. So since this decimal has two decimal digits, means it goes out to the hundredths place. So I'm going to make 100 the denominator of the fraction. And then I'm just going to go ahead and place what decimal digits I have on top of that. So 0.25 is the same as 25 over 100. Now I need to think about simplifying this. And there's several ways I can simplify it. I could divide both the top and the bottom by 5, since they're both divisible by 5. In fact, let's just go there. Let's start there. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. So 25 divided by 5 gives me 5. And then 100 divided by 5 gives me 20. Well, I can simplify this even further because I can divide both 5 and 20 also by 5. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 5 and this by 5. 5 divided by 5 gives me 1, and 20 divided by 5 gives me 4. So my final simplified fraction for 0.25 would be 1 over 4. Okay, here is our last example for today's video. We're going to write the decimal 0.725 as a simplified fraction. So let me rewrite the decimal here, 0.725. Okay, so again, the denominator that I choose for my fraction depends on the place value of the decimal. This decimal has 3 digits, so that means it goes out to the thousands place. So I'm going to go ahead and make 1,000th my denominator. Then I can just go ahead and move the 725 up here and put it on top as the numerator. Now I need to focus on simplifying this. So these are some pretty big numbers here, but I know some divisibility rules that could help me here. I know that any number that ends in 5 or 0 would be divisible by 5. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that because both 725 and 1000 end in 0. So when I do that, I do 725 divided by 5, and I get 145 on the top. And if I do 1000 divided by 5, I get 200. Okay, so that's where I am so far. Now, I noticed that both 145 and 200 also end in 5 and 0. So that means I could divide by 5 again. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If I have 145 and I divide it by 5, I get 29. I'm going to write that down here, 29. And if I do 200 divided by 5, I end up with 40. Okay, so that's my next step of a simplified fraction. Now, I know 29 is a prime number, which means the only numbers that it can be divided by are 1 and 29. If I divide it by 1, that's just not going to help me simplify, so that's okay. I'm going to skip that. But if I can't divide 40 by 29, so that means this is a fully simplified fraction. So 0.725 as a simplified fraction would be 29 over 40. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.